Every city has its good and bad, but some people are just terrible. And yes, Chicago has the worst mayor in America, besides Tiffany Henyard. And I'm not happy to say this, but Brandon Johnson is actually the worst mayor of a large city of all time. Everybody hates this guy for good reasons. He's arrogant, he can't work well with people, he thinks he's better than people, and he's really, really silly and immature. But yet he's running the third biggest city in the country. It's because of people like Brandon Johnson and leadership that President-elect Donald Trump had little ease in taking over those 7 swing states. And to be almost truthful, he wasn't that close to getting Illinois. And I wouldn't be surprised that in 2028 that a Republican candidate could get it. But remember, Brandon Johnson has so many adversaries, and in Chicago, they have these meetings there, I think like at the beginning of the month. And we're about to find out that these people came to the meeting. Remember, they were threatening to turn Chicago red. Donald Trump did win the presidency. Now, also remember the Democratic National Convention was also in Chicago. But I want you to hear the frustrations of these people towards Brandon Johnson.
Good afternoon.
I want to know, how does it feel that Trump is in office right now? You see the Mayor Brandon Johnson? You underestimate us. You underestimate the black people, and you underestimate Chicago red. We're the thorn in your side, and we're going to be the thorn on everybody else in this council member side too. If you don't stop what you're doing, we're going to take matters in our own hand, and we're going to stop it.
Let me just say this. So again, Chicago, which is almost Cook County, it's a blue area, a lot of blacks and Latinos. That changed about 10 percentage points, 5 taken away from Kamala Harris, and then 5 going towards Donald Trump. So that is a big swing. If that happens again, it might be a big enough swing for them to lose the state in general. So they were telling him that, hey, a lot of the mistakes that you were making, if you don't fix these things, we're going to go a different route. Now, the arrogance of these leaders, same thing with Tiffany Henyard in Dayton, Illinois, they feel like they're invincible. They can't lose. And it just goes to show you how out of touch the Democrats, not only Democrats, how out of touch black Democrats are with black people that look like them, people that come from their community. It will be different, if it's Joe Biden. I would expect Joe Biden to be out of touch with the black community. But for somebody like Brandon Johnson, who's from Illinois, who grew up in the state, who grew up in Chicago, who's lived there, somebody like Tiffany Henyard of Dayton, Illinois, who grew up in Dayton, Illinois, who was a single mom, for her to be out of touch and just not care about what people are going through, that hits different.
You know that Trump had pulled 45% of the voter in the state of Illinois, 37 in the city of Chicago. That's the statistic. That means that Illinois is turning purple.
Turning purple, basically he's saying that the state is turning into a swing state, and the Democrats lost every swing state. The Democrats are so bad, Donald Trump doesn't really have to do anything. Just let them make mistakes.
We're going to turn red.
Y'all can bird dog me all y'all want, but if it's relationship over duty, then y'all don't serve the blue. And you can smirk all you want.
Mr. Sims, direct your attention towards me, please.
You a criminal. Why do I got to address you?
That is Brother Taiwan Sims. He often comes to these. He said you're a criminal. Why shot? I mean, this is frustration. It shows that somebody that's hated this much needs to step down. But again, what would Brandon Johnson do now after leaving office? Everybody would hate him. So, he has to finish the term out. He will never get elected again. But let's continue.
The feds need to address you. DOJ need to address you, and hopefully Donald Trump will address you. because you're going to protect the undocumented while you're going to allow for the citizens in Chicago to suffer under your, what, 33%? When C. Joe Lopez cooked that 3% up a long time ago. Y'all called it a circuit breaker. Y'all been talked about it. Remember, before you came in here and gave that jovial speech, you need to be inspected.
Let me say this about the migrant crisis. To be fair, every mayor in America that's handling this is in the sanctuary city. And I think the sanctuary cities I know offhand are Chicago and New York. But even Boston, Denver, any mayor that has a migrant crisis issue is going to be hated. Because simply you have to do it. It's a federal government mandate, and you're gonna have to spend that money to do it. And if we were to say no, I'm assuming you'd be in some level of violation, and then it's a two-edged sword. You go with it, your citizens hate you, and if you don't, the party hates you. So to be fair, it's not really all his fault, but it is his fault because he's a Democratic politician. And Democratic politicians, hey, they're the ones that brought in this mass immigration that so many people are suffering from in these sanctuary cities, and that he has approved funding for these things while trying to cut funding or raise taxes in other ways while he's giving the migrants this money.
You wearing that creep over there.
Acting like, you just gonna bully everybody. You got people, officers whose families don't even want you to come to the funeral.
Let's check that clip out, okay? This is actually true. There was a fallen police officer in Chicago, and they don't want him there.
Developing tonight, disagreement over how to honor a fallen Chicago police officer.
Enrique Martinez's funeral is Monday, and his loved ones are asking the mayor not to attend, but he says he's going anyway.
Our Jermont Terry shares the perspective from one of Martinez's family friends tonight. Jermont?
Joe and Erica, as the city prepares to honor Officer Martinez, who was killed while on duty, his family, through representatives, making it very clear that the man leading the city should not step foot into the services.
Standing outside the 8th Police District, members of the FOP and close friends of fallen CPD officer Enrique Martinez spoke out in solidarity.
Enrique Martinez's family called me up this evening and said they could not do this. They definitely do not want the mayor at any of the functions for Enrique. Plain and simple.
You just like a schoolyard bully. That at some point, and you might not know nothing about it because you grew up in Elgin.
Uh-oh.
But those of us who grew up on the south side and west side of Chicago, we all know at some point that bully gets cornered in the alley, and everybody come at him, and he ain't gonna have nobody to help him. That's you. That's you. Keep thinking you ain't gonna abide by what the President of the United States said. Everybody know better than that. I see you, Anna Valencia, in your red. You know what it is. This is the second time you showed up in City Council in red. You know what it is.
So here are these new Republicans that I never thought that I would see this. These are like real African Americans from the inner city who would never vote Republican 10 years ago, 12 years ago. The party is changing. And I think the party changed largely because of Donald Trump, to be honest. Republicans, if you were black, it was for the guys who were sellouts, the guys who were cornballs, if you would say that, guys who had, maybe white wives or kind of white apologists. A lot of the people in the pro-black community, including myself, have said, hey, what's going on with the right? If we have to pick a party, let's go red, right? And now you're seeing people from the inner city, people that the Republicans would never get any support from, just would give up on, not even show up to. These are people who are now pushing the movement.
Yeah. So you and the rest of them that know what time it is, y'all come on. You leave that loser where he is. He's a loser. He's a loser. No, me and Zoe, we ain't doing nothing for nobody except for ourselves. We got you, loser.
14% rating is what you appear to have, Brandon Johnson, across the United States, or how they see.
A 14% approval rating. Let's talk about that number. If that number is true, Joe Biden has a 41% approval rating. And that would definitely not even get you reelected at all. Or Kamala Harris. It's 27 points below that at 14%. This guy has no chance of coming back.
But 14% rating. Now, I'm going to talk about all those known donations of $11.5 million that came from places like the CTU, the SEIU, the American Federation of Teachers, Illinois Federation of Teachers, and then someone got the nerve to get on there and talk about cutting the pensions. What about our real estate? Because, see, we paid for these properties for a purpose and not for you to go touching it with $300 million that you want to siphon out of the citizens' pockets. Get rid of the illegals, and that'll take your money right back. Start it off with that.
So basically, this lady is saying, I believe, the same people that supported you, you're now trying to, and this is financially, you're now turning on them, trying to make their life miserable. You betrayed them, which is largely true. Brandon Johnson was a teacher, a part of the teachers union. They helped him become a mayor, and he's had a big issue with them. It's just, unfortunately, I don't know what this term progressive really means. I think it just means progressives, I think, politically. It just means people who are just silly and want to spend money you don't have and making people's lives miserable. I have never saw a progressive or a liberal progressive that anybody believes develop cities, develop countries, or develop states. Every state that is doing extremely well doesn't have a progressive leader like Brandon Johnson. Look at Texas. Everybody wants to go to Texas right now. Want to know why? Because Texas is a very run well, conservative state. It's a red state. People are leaving California, going to Texas. All right. If you look at all the places that people are moving to, they're moving to Texas, Florida, Georgia. All right. Nobody says, you know, I want to move to Boston, Massachusetts. I'm moving to New York. I'm moving to California. People are saying I'm moving out of California. I'm moving out of Massachusetts. I'm moving out of Illinois because the opportunities are not here anymore. That's what they're saying. And wanting to go towards more red states because the states are just better run. Do you know the number, according to U.S. News, the number one state right now with U.S. News, I ain't talking about the most educated state, but quality of life, is Utah, believe it or not. Utah. I wonder why. It's a red state. It's run extremely well. It has a very conservative background. That's why. Okay? Well, guys, thank you so much. This is another episode of Fair Use. I'm out.